discuss about anti-HIV drugs. Human immunodeficiency virus is called HIV, and it mainly affects your CD4 cells, which is T helper cells. Okay, which is responsible for our immunity. So if it destroys the CD4 cells, our immunity will be suppressed, and we will get a lot of complications like opportunistic infections. Okay, so how the HIV enters your CD4 cells? First, it will fuse by the process of fusion. It will enter into the T helper cells of your body. So it will fuse with the envelope protein called GP41. Okay, and the receptors of the CD4 cells is called CCR5 or CXCR4. So the GP41 will fuse with CCR5 or CXCR4 receptors on the human cells. So it will enter into the T cell. So once it gets inside the cell, what will happen? This HIV virus is an RNA virus. So it will contain RNA, okay, viral RNA. And it is converted into complementary DNA. How it is converted? With the help of the enzyme called reverse transcriptase enzyme. This reverse transcriptase enzyme is called RNA dependent DNA polymerase. So that RNA is converted into the DNA. So that the viral DNA is formed now. So the viral DNA is formed. So once the viral DNA is formed, it will integrate with your human DNA to form provirus. Okay, how it integrates? With the help of the enzyme integrase. So with the help of the enzyme integrase, the viral DNA will integrate with your human DNA to form provirus. So this proviral DNA, then they will replicate and they will undergo transcription to form RNA, which finally forms protein through the process called translation. So the protein formed now, it is inactive. So which requires the enzyme called protease for the activation. So this is the physiology. And then the complete virus is generated from the components, and after that it will leave the CD4 cells and it will infect the other cells. So various drugs will target these steps. So what are the drugs we have? We have nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. Okay, in this compound we have classification. We have zidovudin, stavudin, lamivudin, jalcitabine, didanosine, abacavir, and emtricitabine. I will repeat it again. NRTA, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. We have zidovudin, we have stavudin, we have lamivudin, we have jalcitabine, we have didanosine, we have abacavir, and emtricitabine. Coming to the nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitor, we have tenofovir. And coming to non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, we have efavirenz, nevirapine, etravirin, rilpivirin, doravirin, and dilavirin. Okay, efavirenz, etravirin, nevirapine, rilpivirin, doravirin, and dilavirin. So you have to memorize these drugs. In protease inhibitors, we have ritonavir, indinavir, nelfinavir, saquinavir, amprinavir, fosamprinavir, lopinavir, darunavir, and tipranavir. So ritonavir, indinavir, nelfinavir, saquinavir, amprinavir, lopinavir, fosamprinavir, darunavir, and tipranavir. And entry inhibitors, so it will inhibit the fusion. We have enfuvirtide and maraviroc. Okay, and integrase inhibitor we have raltegravir, elvitegravir, bictegravir, and dolutegravir. I have forgot to mention that dolutegravir. Okay, raltegravir, elvitegravir, and bictegravir. So now we'll discuss about each of these drugs. First of all, reverse transcriptase inhibitors. We know that HIV is a retrovirus and it is an RNA virus. It will form DNA from RNA through the help of enzyme RNA dependent DNA polymerase. That is called reverse transcriptase. Through the reverse transcriptase, RNA is converted into the DNA. Okay, so our drugs will inhibit this process. By inhibiting this reverse transcriptase, the RNA will not form the DNA. DNA is not formed, and the virus will die. So we have two classification depending upon that. If the drugs inhibit this enzyme reverse transcriptase competitively or non-competitively, if it is inhibiting competitively, then it is called nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. And if it is inhibiting in the allosteric site, okay, allosteric site, not at the catalytic site, then it is called non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. This is the minus differences. So this is the picture, very beautiful picture. This is a reverse transcriptase enzyme. RNA is formed. So RNA is converted into DNA. And these drugs, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors and non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, they will inhibit the reverse transcriptase so that RNA is not converted into DNA. Simple mechanism. So the competitive inhibitors, they may be nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors or nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors. We have tenofovir also. And non-competitive inhibitors, we have NNRTIs, non-nucleoside or non-nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors. Coming to the NRTs, only the nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. So these are all prodrugs, and these drugs get activated by the host cell kinases. By the host cell kinases, they will form triphosphates. For example, if you are using zidovudine, zidovudine will form zidovudine triphosphate by the host cell kinases. And after forming the triphosphate, it will competitively inhibit the reverse transcriptase mechanism of action. And also it acts as chain terminators, and it will also, the drug will also incorporate into the DNA chain and cause termination. Okay, the protein synthesis will stop. And the main problem with these drugs is the resistance to the drugs will emerge if you use it alone. These drugs should be given in combination therapies. Okay, it should not be given alone because of resistance. So the mechanism of action is, it is a prodrug. It is activated by the host cell kinases to form the triphosphates. This triphosphate will inhibit the reverse transcriptase. It also acts as chain terminators by incorporating itself into the DNA chain and cause chain termination. And these drugs should not be used lonely because of they will develop rapid resistance. So in these nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, we have main compound called zidovudine. It is frequently used in RDI in the treatment of HIV infections. Other than that, where all it is used, it is also used for your prophylaxis of needle stick injury. If any needle stick injury of HIV patient, you can use for prophylaxis, and also prevention of vertical transmission of HIV from your mother to fetus. So only two drugs are approved for prevention of vertical transmission of HIV from mother to fetus. One is zidovudine and one is nevirapine. Okay, nevirapine is non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. Zidovudine is nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. So zidovudine is frequently used in RTI in the treatment of HIV infections. Along with that, it is also used for your prophylaxis of needle stick injury and also prevention of vertical transmission of HIV from your mother to fetus. Other drug used is nevirapine. So what is the major side effect of the zidovudine? Zidovudine will cause your bone marrow suppression. So it can cause megaloblastic anemia, it can cause neutropenia, it can cause thrombocytopenia. So it should not be combined with the jancyclovir. Jancyclovir is also a bone marrow suppressing compound. So you should not give with jancyclovir. Jancyclovir we are useful in CMV retinitis, cytomegalovirus retinitis, and also it can also be used for resistant HSV infection, herpes simplex infection also it can be used. The main indication is CMV retinitis, cytomegalovirus infections. So it can cause bone marrow suppression. Since zidovudine also bone marrow, it also causes bone marrow suppression. By combining it with, it will cause potent bone marrow suppression. So you should not combine this drug with jancyclovir. That is the reason. And since it causes megaloblastic anemia, it should be contraindicated in the patients with anemic patients with hemoglobin less than 8 grams. Okay, you should not give in such patients. What are the other side effects we can cause? It can cause myopathy. Okay, and rifampicin, it is an enzyme inducer. It will increase the clearance of this drug. That's why in HIV patients, we are not using rifampicin. Instead, we use rifabutin because rifabutin does not interact with the enzymes much. It is not an enzyme inducer like your rifampicin. Okay, so rifampicin should not be used in case of HIV patients. Only we should use rifabutin. So main side effects, they can, other than that, it can cause lipodystrophy syndrome and nail hyperpigmentation and lipotrophy. And you should remember the lipodystrophy, it is common with NRTIs, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors and protease inhibitors. Okay, you have to remember that point. So two family of the drugs causes lipodystrophy. One is NRTI we are discussing now, and another one is protease inhibitors. Okay, so what are the side effects of zidovudine? Bone marrow suppression, megaloblastic anemia, neutropenia, thrombocytopenia. So it should not be combined with the ganciclovir. Ganciclovir is a potent bone marrow suppressing compound, so you should not combine with ganciclovir. Since it causes anemia, it is contraindicated in the patients with hemoglobin less than 8 gram, it can cause myopathy. And rifampicin, it will increase the clearance of the drug, so you should use rifabutin, not rifampicin. And chronic administration will cause lipodystrophy syndrome, nail hyperpigmentation, and lipotrophy. And lipodystrophy syndrome is common with NRTAs and protease inhibitors. Okay, another compound of NRTA family is didanosine, and its oral bioavailability is reduced by food, so you should not take with food. You should be taken in empty stomach. And the main side effect can cause is dose limiting toxicities or pancreatitis. That is the maximum toxicity it can cause. And other thing it can cause is hyperuricemia, optic neuritis, and painful sensory peripheral neuropathy. It can cause. Since its name starts with D, it can cause diarrhea. Okay, it is a more common than with other NRTAs. And if you compare zidovudine causes megaloblastic anemia, neutropenia, thrombocytopenia. But this compound only causes neutropenia, but it will not cause anemia. And it can cause fulminant hepatic failure also and electrolyte abnormalities. So coming to the didenosine bioavailability is reduced by food. It should be taken in empty stomach. It should not be taken with food, and it can cause dose limiting toxicity. Mainly is pancreatitis. Other thing it can cause is hyperuricemia, optic neuritis, painful sensory neuropathy. Since its name starts with D, it can cause diarrhea. The diarrhea is more common with didenosine comparing to other NRTAs, and it can also cause your neutropenia, not anemia. It can cause fulminant hepatic failure and electrolytic abnormalities. Coming to the stavudine will also cause pancreatitis like your didenosine, but the more problem is with peripheral neuropathy. It can cause more peripheral neuropathy. Okay, first. Then it can also cause pancreatitis. It can cause two L's. Okay, it can cause lactic acidosis because of the mitochondrial toxicity. It can cause also lipodystrophy syndrome. Okay, this lipodystrophy syndrome is strongly associated with the stavudine among all the NRTAs and protease inhibitors. I told you in the first slide that NRTAs and protease inhibitors will cause lipodystrophy syndrome. I ask you to remember that. So the lipodystrophy is more common in stavudine comparing to all other groups. So maximum lipodystrophy syndrome is caused by stavudine, and maximum peripheral neuropathy is caused by stavudine. And it also has maximum chance of causing lactic acidosis. So stavudine, it can cause your peripheral neuropathy. It can has maximum chance of causing lactic acidosis. It can cause your pancreatitis, but more strongly associated with lipodystrophy syndrome among all NRTAs and protease inhibitors. Coming to the safest NRTAs, we have two drugs, lamivudine and emtricitabine. They are the best tolerated, and they are not associated with peripheral neuropathy or pancreatitis. And other advantages, both are effective against hepatitis B also. And emtricitabine is a once a day alternative to your lamivudine. So lamivudine and emtricitabine are the best tolerated drugs. They are not associated with the peripheral neuropathy or pancreatitis. Both are effective against hepatitis. There are three drugs can be approved. Three anti-HIV drugs can be used for your hepatitis B as well. What are they? These three things, they can cover your hepatitis B also, HIV also. These are lamivudine, emtricitabine, and tenofovir. Okay, these three drugs have useful in both hepatitis B and HIV infections. So remember that point. Okay, lamivudine, emtricitabine, and tenofovir. So lamivudine, emtricitabine, best tolerated. They are not associated with the peripheral neuropathy or pancreatitis. Both are effective against hepatitis B along with tenofovir. That's it. Coming to the jalcitabine. Jalcitabine has unique toxicity to cause your oral ulceration and stomatitis. So it is the least effective NRTI. So, but it can also cause your peripheral neuropathy and pancreatitis. So jalcitabine has unique toxicity to cause your oral ulceration and stomatitis. It is the least effective NRTI. Even though it is the least effective NRTI, it can also cause your peripheral neuropathy and pancreatitis. Coming to the abacavir. In abacavir, you should remember that it can increase the risk of MI, particularly in the patient having HLA B5701 allele. Okay, they remember that allele number HLA B5701. Because abacavir can increase the risk of MI in such patients, it can cause severe hypersensitivity reactions, particularly in HLA B5701. So, before giving the abacavir, it is recommended, it's compulsory to you have to test for this allele. Okay, and if the patient is hypersensitive, then you should not repeat the drug again. And you have to remember that all your NRTAs are excreted by the kidney. Okay, so in case of renal failure, they need dose adjustment. Exception is your abacavir. It is metabolized by the enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase. Okay, all of your rest of your NRTAs are excreted by the kidney, so they need dose adjustment in case of renal failure. But except your abacavir is metabolized by your alcohol dehydrogenase, so it does not need dose adjustment in renal failure. It can be used safely in renal failure. But you have to test for this allele HLA-B5701. And hypersensitivity is the major adverse reaction of this abacavir, and if the hypersensitivity occur, it should not be restarted again. So as a general, all NRTAs can cause your lactic acidosis, all can cause your hepatomegaly, all can cause your steatosis by inhibiting the mammalian mitochondrial DNA polymerase. Not only they will inhibit the DNA polymerase, that is reverse transcriptase, but they also inhibit your mammalian mitochondrial DNA polymerase in humans also. That's why they are reported to cause severe side effects like lactic acidosis, hepatomegaly, and steatosis. And the risk factors for that are obesity and pre-existing liver dysfunction. So they can cause lactic acidosis, hepatomegaly, and steatosis by inhibiting your mitochondrial DNA polymerase. Risk factors are obesity and pre-existing liver dysfunction. Now coming to the nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors. I told you tenofovir, it is also used in hepatitis B infection, okay, along with lamivudine and emtricitabine. So it is a nucleotide, so it does not require bioactivation by host kinases like your NRTIs, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. So it will act directly, and it is excreted mainly by your kidney. So and can cause renal impairment, and including can cause the characteristic MCQ. They can ask you is Fanconi's like anemia, Fanconi's like syndrome, and hypophosphatemia may occur with this drug. So you have to remember this important point because it is excreted by the kidney, can cause renal impairment by causing Fanconi's like anemia and hypophosphatemia. So, but your oral bioavailability of the tenofovir increases with your meals, so you can take with meals, and but it decreases for other NRTs. We saw it in digoxin. It should be taken in empty stomach, but not tenofovir. It can take with meals. So bioavailability is not altered, but it increases with the meals. So it should be taken with the meals. It is a well-tolerated drug also. The flatulence is the only significant side effect of this drug, and this drug is also effective against hepatitis B. So tenofovir is a nucleotide, does not require bioactivation by kinases like your nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. It is excreted mainly by the kidney. And renal impairment it can cause like Fanconi's like syndrome and hypophosphatemia. So oral viability of the tenofovir increases with your meals. So you should take it with meals. And it is well tolerated, and flatulence is the only important side effect, and it is also effective against your hepatitis B along with lamivudine and emtricitabine. Okay. Now coming to the non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. So what do you mean by non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors? Instead of acting at the catalytic site, they will act at the allostatic site, different from that of NRTS. Okay, they act at different site, but they also inhibit your reverse transcriptase, but they will not act on the catalytic site. They will act on the allostatic site, other than the important site. So these are selective for your HIV-1 infection, and they have no activity against HIV-2. This is important point. They can ask you in MCQs. Only selective for HIV-1. They are not active. Have no activity against HIV-2, and the resistance to the drugs also develops very rapidly if you give singly. So you should be given in combination therapies. So what are the drugs we have in this group? We have nevirapine. I have told you what is the important use of nevirapine. I have told you to prevent the vertical transmission of the HIV from the mother to the fetus. Along other drug is zidovudine. Okay, these two drugs are approved for that. Other drugs are efavirenz, etravirine, rilpivirine, dilavirdine. Okay, the main dangerous side effect of this group of drugs is skin rash. They can cause severe side effects like Steven Johnson syndrome, toxic epidermal necrolysis, more common with your nevirapine. Okay, and dilavirdine and efavirenz should be avoided in your first trimester of the pregnancy. Okay, DE should be avoided in your first trimester of the pregnancy. I have told you nevirapine is used in pregnancy to prevent your vertical transmission. So what is the dose we are using for nevirapine? We are using a single oral dose of 200 milligram to the mother during the labor. When she is labor, we are just giving 200 milligram. And for neonate, within 3 days, we can give single 2 milligram per kg oral dose for the baby. Okay, so dilavirdine and efavirenz, they should be avoided in your first trimester of your pregnancy. And nevirapine is used in pregnancy to prevent your vertical transmission. Then you should be given during the labor, single oral dose 200 milligram to the mother, nevirapine. And for the neonate, within 3 days you have to give after birth 2 milligram per kg. So the nevirapine decreases transmission to 13%, okay, but the maximum decrease in the transmission is by zerovirin, is about 21.5%. And the nevirapine has very dangerous side effect like hepatotoxicity and less effectiveness. It is not preferred for this condition. So the zerovirin will overtake this nevirapine, okay, but still indicated. The people are giving. And if efavirenz is neurotoxic, okay, it can cause psychiatric symptoms like lack of concentration to delusions and mania, psychiatric symptoms. So efavirenz is neurotoxic. Efavirenz is also should not be used in the first time of pregnancy along with dilavidin, D and E. Okay, so efavirenz is also neurotoxic. And newly approved drug is etravirin and rilpivirine. Okay, etravirin is a recently approved NNRTI. It is effective against your HIV, resistant to your first generation, like efavirenz, nevirapine, and dilavirin, what we have discussed now. So if these drugs are resistant, then you can give etravirin. And other recently drug approved is rilpivirine also. There's a second generation NRTIs, etravirin and rilpivirine. And one advantages of NRTI is it does not cause lipodystrophy like your NRTI and protease inhibitor. And the maximum chance of lipodystrophy is with your stavudine. Okay, stavudine. And nevirapine and efavirenz are CYP 450 enzyme induces. They are the enzyme induces. But your dilavidin is enzyme inhibitor. Okay, you have to remember that this point also. Enzyme interaction of these drugs. Nevirapine and efavirenz, they are CYP 450 enzyme induces, while your dilavidin is enzyme inhibitor. So NNRTI does not cause your lipodystrophy. The maximum lipodystrophy is caused by your stavudine, and lipodystrophy is caused by your NRTIs and protease inhibitors. Now coming to your protease inhibitors. So what protease inhibitors will do? We know that it helps in the maturation of the infectious virions. Okay, after the formation of DNA, it is converted into RNA and it is converted into proteins through transcription and translation. Okay, transcription to mRNA and translation to proteins. So these proteins will be inactive. So it should be cleaved by the protease enzyme to form the mature proteins. So that maturation of the infectious virions. So this process is taken up by protease. So if you give the protease inhibitors, the maturation of the infectious virions will not happen. So virus will die. So the inhibitors of this enzyme can be used for the treatment of HIV infections by inhibiting your post-translational modification of the viral proteins. So protease inhibitors will inhibit your post-translation modification of the viral proteins so that the maturation of the infectious virions will not be formed. Matured virions will not be formed. It will still be immature. So this is HIV proteins. This is immature HIV, and by the protease cleavage, it will form mature HIV. And we are giving protease inhibitors, so it will get stopped. It will not form the mature HIV. Okay, this is simple and super diagram. It is very easy to remember. And coming to the drugs in protease inhibitors, we have oral ability of indinavir. The oral bioavailability of indinavir is decreased by your food. Okay, so it should be taken in empty stomach. And it can main problem with your indinavir you have to remember is, according to the MCQ point of view, can cause kidney stones and crystalluria. That is very important point. So which anti-HIV drug causes crystalluria, kidney stones? Answer is always indinavir. Okay, indinavir. So remember India, again, indinavir. And to prevent renal damage, what we have to do? We have to do good hydration must be maintained. And indinavir can also cause your hyperbilirubinemia, asymptomatic hyperbilirubinemia. So indinavir, it is decreased by the food. Oral bioavailability of the indinavir is decreased by food. Can cause your crystalluria and kidney stones. Important MCQ point. To prevent renal damage, good hydration must be maintained. And it can also cause your asymptomatic hyperbilirubinemia. So these protease group of drugs, the special property of these drugs are they inhibit the metabolism of several drugs by inhibiting the CYP3A4. They call booster drugs. They will inhibit the CYP3A4. Best example for the most potent inhibitor of the CYP3A4, they call a booster drug. It is called ritonavir. Okay, ritonavir in low doses can be used with other protease inhibitors to increase their plasma concentrations, because other plasma concentration of their drugs other drugs are metabolized by the CYP3A4. So if you inhibit 3 CYP3A4, other drugs will not be metabolized, their concentration will increase. It will boost the concentration of the other drugs. That's why it is called booster drug, that is ritonavir. So the current guidelines recommend that all protease inhibitor containing regimes, they use ritonavir boosting if possible. They should use ritonavir boosting if possible. And which drug is safe from the ritonavir boosting? We don't need ritonavir boosting. That is nelfinavir and atazanavir. Okay, NA, nelfinavir and atazanavir. Remember antenatal. Okay, atazanavir and nelfinavir. But FDA recommended only the nelfinavir. It should not be used with ritonavir. No, ritonavir boosting is not recommended for nelfinavir alone. But atazanavir is also included. And if you talk about amprinavir and fosamprinavir, fosamprinavir is a long-acting prodrug of amprinavir. Okay, and these drugs should not be combined with ethinyl estradiol because their concentration will decrease if you give with ethinyl estradiol. That is OCP. Okay, estrogen. And very important compound is tipranavir. Okay, it is non-peptidic protease inhibitor. It is effective against your HIV, resistant to all other protease inhibitors. So okay, then the tipranavir is we can use tipranavir in such cases if the HIV is resistant to all other protease inhibitors. But the problem with tipranavir is it can cause hepatotoxicity and intracranial hemorrhage. This is the important side effect you have to remember. So tipranavir can cause hepatotoxicity and intracranial hemorrhage, and it is used in HIV resistant to all other protease inhibitors. If you talk about atazanavir, okay, atazanavir does not require ritonavir boosting like nelfinavir. Remember AN, atazanavir and nelfinavir, okay. And atazanavir also cause your hyperbilirubinemia, like your indinavir. Indinavir will also cause hyperbilirubinemia. Okay, and it also increase your atazanavir will also increase your PR interval in ECG. Okay, PR interval in ECG, and it requires acidic pH to remain in your solution. So you should not be given with proton pump inhibitors. So if you give proton pump inhibitors, pH will increase, alkaline pH will come, and it will not remain in the solution. It will be ineffective. And in case of atazanavir drug interactions, if you are using tenofovir and efavirenz, the concentration of the atazanavir will be reduced. Okay, tenofovir and efavirenz, they lower the serum concentration of the atazanavir. So if you are using atazanavir, tenofovir and efavirenz, it should be boosted by your ritonavir. So you should give ritonavir to boost the concentration of the atazanavir. And amprinavir can cause your Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Only drug which can cause Stevens-Johnson syndrome in this family, protease inhibitor, is amprinavir, and mostly it is caused by your nevirapine. Okay, NNRTS, they can cause skin rash, that Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and 10 toxic epidermal necrosis. And here in protease inhibitors which causes Stevens-Johnson syndrome is amprinavir. And all of your protease inhibitors are metabolized by the liver. So all can cause your metabolic abnormalities like hypercholesteremia, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, insulin resistance, altered fat distribution called lipodystrophy syndrome. In the first slide I told you lipodystrophy syndrome is also caused by protease inhibitors and NRTIs. And which drug is devoid of this side effect? That is atazanavir. So another important advantage of atazanavir is it is devoid of this lipodystrophy syndrome. So all protease inhibitors are metabolized by your liver and all can cause metabolic abnormalities. They can cause your hypercholesteremia, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, insulin resistance, altered fat distribution. So in case of altered fat distribution, lipodystrophy, how will you treat? There is a drug called tesamorelin. Okay, it's a growth hormone releasing factor, GHRH analog. So they are indicated to reduce your excess abdominal fat in HIV infected patients with lipodystrophy. So drug of choice used for lipodystrophy to treat your excess abdominal fat is tesamorelin, which is synthetic analog of growth hormone releasing factor. Now coming to the entry inhibitors. Okay, we have two drugs, enfuvirtide and marovirok. So the enfuvirtide, that will inhibit the GP41 subunit of the HIV envelope protein. So it will inhibit your fusion of the viral and host cell membranes, and this prevents your entry of the virus into the host cells. And it is used subcutaneously. Okay, and what are the side effects it can cause? It can cause injection site reactions, can cause hypersensitivity and pneumonia, and it is not effective against your HIV too. So enfuvirtide, it binds to your GP41 subunit of the HIV envelope protein, and it will inhibit the fusion of the viral and host cell membranes. This will prevent your entry of the virus into the host cells, and it is used subcutaneously. It can cause your injection site reactions, hypersensitivity, pneumonia, and it is not effective against HIV2. And marovirok is another compound, and it is CCR5 antagonist. Okay, receptor CCR5 co-receptor antagonist. CCR5 is present in your T cells. It will sit on your CCR5 receptor, so that the virus which have more affinity for CCR5 will not go inside. The Paragraph will block that virus, HIV virus. Okay, and for this we have to do a test called tropism assay. You have to test that whether this virus has more tropism or more affinity towards the CCR5 receptors. If it is the result come positive, we can proceed with this drug, and if it is not positive, we should not use this drug. So this is the problem with this drug. And it is a first CCR5 co-receptor antagonist to be approved for use. It is only active against CCR5 tropic virus, only the virus which has tropism towards CCR5. For that, you have to do tropism assay to be performed before starting Maraviroc. And this type of the HIV infections, they tend to predominate in their early in the infection. And this drug is given orally. Remember, enfuvitate is given subcutaneously and Maraviroc is given orally. So this is the fusion inhibitors. They will inhibit your virus entry into the cell. Okay, this is the CD4 cell membrane. Here will be CCR5 receptors and GP41. Enfuvitate will bind to the GP41 and Maraviroc will bind to your CCR5, and they will inhibit the entry of the virus into the cell. Now coming to the integrase inhibitors. I told you that after forming reverse transcriptase enzyme, it will form RNA DNA. So the HIV DNA is integrated with the human DNA to form provirus. Okay, and this process is taken by integrase. So the drugs which inhibit this integrase is called integrase inhibitors. They call raltegravir, elvitegravir, dolutegravir, and recent we have bictegravir, BIC, bictegravir. Okay, these are the oral drugs approved by the FDA by inhibiting the integrase enzyme. And here also we have the booster drug for the integrase inhibitors is cobicistat. This cobicistat will boost the effect of elvitegravir. Okay, also it also boosts the effect of your protease inhibitors like darunavir, atazanavir. The cobicistat will also increase the concentration of darunavir, atazanavir, and also elvitegravir. So the three drugs. Okay, elvitegravir, darunavir, and atazanavir. Cobicistat will increase the concentration of elvitegravir, atazanavir, and darunavir. So this is the integrase enzyme. This integrase enzyme will integrate the HIV DNA with your human DNA, and by inhibiting this integrase enzyme, your HIV DNA will not be integrated with your human DNA. Simple mechanism. And when should we use anti-HIV drugs? And previously there are a lot of guidelines and democracy. Nowadays the recent guideline says when a person is diagnosed HIV, you should start the treatment, whatever it is, whatever the CD4 count it is. If the patient is diagnosed HIV, you should start the treatment. And post-exposure prophylaxis, it should be given within 72 hours, within 3 days. Maximum, it should be given within 1 day, within 2 hours. Okay, that is the best. And minimum is less than 3 days, 72 hours. And how long it should be given? It should be given for 4 weeks. Okay, and the rest of the drugs I will discuss in the group. Okay, thank you so much. I have completed the entire HIV drugs profile, and the regimens I will post in your group. Thank you so much.